Our government parties that are there for our future generations, not just now, can look at short-term gains and ignore long-term consequences. And why is this so? The fruit of our actions shows exactly what we support and believe in, meaning it is not what they say, it is how they vote, and voting has consequences to every citizen of countries. That if we can devalue life across the world, we can easily devalue it at home, because there's always someone who can decide that is deserving of that same treatment, as long as it's not us. It would be different if the 1% were investing in making sure their environmental footprints was zero, so that they and their kids would also have a sustainable future. But instead, the 1% is hoarding their wealth, building bunkers that produce their own air, water, and food, so that when the land is no longer livable, they and their close circle will be protected from the effects of global warming they all caused for not making any changes to how they manage their businesses, building these bunkers to keep them safe from the rest of us, who will be desperately fighting to survive, while they will be safe and sound in their safe houses. But funny thing is, they are responsible for the global destruction that will kill humanity. The money they are stealing from governments, taxpayers, customers, while hoarding their wealth to inflate their egos, not fixing their part in global warming, shows just how deadly and irresponsible greed is. Instead of spending their wealth in healing our world, making their footprints negative, and saving humanity and all living creatures on Earth, they're only thinking about themselves. Instead of spending the money to fix the mistakes of the past, the 1% are going to let us suffer while they live in luxury. Industry has humanity in a death chokehold, and instead of acknowledging the damage they are doing in saving us, they are doubling down and going for the kill. But they have a plan A for them. They have their sustainable bunkers for them and their loved ones. It really is quite disgusting. Their greed at all costs, even global extinction. The 1%'s toys or super yachts are producing a larger environmental footprint than thousands of people. This gross display of greed is making their environmental footprint even bigger, and this is speeding our world to global catastrophe, all the while telling us to just use paper straws. The 1% really have no shame. This article shows just how ignorant the 1% are. Billionaires spew more CO2 pollution in 90 minutes than the average person in a lifetime. The extreme emissions of the richest from their luxury lifestyles, and even more from their polluting investments, are fueling inequity, hunger, and make no mistake, threatening lives. The super rich are treating our planet like their personal playground, setting it ablaze for pleasure and profit, says Oxfam director in a statement. Their dirty investments in luxury toys, private jets, and yachts aren't just symbols of excess. They are a direct threat to people and the planet. According to the group, Oxfam estimates the average annual carbon footprint of each of these yachts to be 5,672 tons, which is more than 3 times the emissions of the billionaires' private jets. This is the equivalent of 860 years of emissions for the average person in the world, and 5,610 times the average of someone in the global poorest 50%. The Walton family, heirs of the Walmart retail chain, own 3 super yachts worth over $500 million, and they traveled 56,000 nautical miles in a year with a combined carbon footprint of 18,000 tons. This is the equivalent to the carbon emissions of around 1,714 Walmart shop workers. The company that has generated their extreme wealth has also been found to drive economic inequality in the U.S. through low wages, workplace discrimination, and huge CEO pay. So people have to understand that greed will always destroy in the end, that how we treat the least of us is how we treat our shared creator, that once we're okay with devaluing life everywhere, it enables us to justify the other way when human rights violations are being committed, feeling that it is okay because it is happening to them. But the current occupant of the White House and his billionaire buddies he has brought in as advisor is destroying all safety nets, programs that keep people safe. But the financial devastation this will have on the masses will also shift gross amounts of wealth into the 1% by destroying the average person and vulnerable people living in poverty. This in itself is criminal. Governments are about we the people, not the 1% or a king or a dictator. How we allow the 1% to pit us against ourselves while they rob us blind is the rot in the world that must be changed. We must build a system that is sustainable for everyone, and that everyone can be the best version of themselves. Because the system is designed for this, instead of the system that only the 1% thrive. Also, it is time that we the people make the rules, build a safe and sustainable future by using the best models out there, and designing it so that we the worker have rights, safety, and good paying jobs, that we can live our best lives and are taken care of for the lifespan.